What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is Sully. Sully is a biographical drama film that was directed by Clint Eastwood and is based on the autobiography entitled Highest Duty, My Search for What Really Matters by Chesley Sullenberger himself and Jeffrey Zaslow. So this film primarily follows veteran US Airways pilot Sully Sullenberger, played by Tom Hanks, and the forced water landing of United States Airways Flight 1549 that occurred on January 15th of 2009. Well, after Captain Sullenberger and his co-pilot Jeff Skiles, played by Aaron Eckhart, are forced to land their plane in the Hudson River due to some unforeseen circumstances, the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, began investigating the situation in an attempt to determine if the plane could have returned back to the airport after the complications occurred instead of landing in the Hudson River. While Captain Sully is hailed as a hero in the streets of New York for saving the lives of the passengers of Flight 1549, the NTSB begins asking Sully about his mental health, his home situation, and so forth, because their simulations show that he could have landed safely back at the airport. The rest of the film is spent with Sully as the filmmakers explore his backstory and how he handles the drastic change in his life post-water landing in the Hudson, as well as the NTSB questioning their two pilots in the hopes of understanding why they chose a forced water landing over a return back to the airport. Okay, so this is a good movie, certainly not a great movie, and while I did walk out of the theater mostly satisfied, it wasn't quite as good as I hoped it would be. The first problem I had with this movie was the pacing and arrangement of the story. I don't want to go too deep into this because I don't want to risk spoiling anything for you, but I'll just say that this story is not told in a linear fashion, and the arrangement of the plot points at times felt sort of out of order and scatterbrained. The scenes don't always flow in a very natural way. You get a backstory scene thrown in, then you get a dream sequence, then you get a little taste of the actual flight, and as a viewer I was just confused because it felt like the story wasn't unfolding in a way that seemed natural. And because of this, the drama that this film prides itself on doesn't quite reach the level that I hoped it would. This isn't because most of us know what happened in the real life version of this story either. It's just because this film does a somewhat poor job of building up the dramatic scenes to a point where they're as meaningful as they should be. There's also very little character development that takes place over the course of this movie's 96-minute runtime. There's really only 3 characters that actually play a significant, memorable role in this film, and they rarely interact in ways that feel meaningful. The most meaningful interactions, I would say, take place between Sully and his wife Lorraine, played by Laura Linney. The two mostly just discuss how this event has changed their lives forever and how they love each other and their 2 daughters and so forth, and that's really about as much as we know about Sully besides a few backstory flashbacks that are thrown in that give you very little, if any, information about who Sully is as a person. I'm going to compare Sully to Flight here because it's inevitable in my opinion. Flight was a slightly better film than Sully because Whip was a more interesting character than Sully. While Whip was flawed and you start to wonder whether he actually did endanger the lives of his passengers, you never feel that with Sully. Most of the drama that could be present in regards to the moral ambiguity is just not there. Sometimes the NTSB comes up with a reason why they're right, and then Sully's just like, nah son, that couldn't have happened because of this. And the NTSB is just like, you right, taking most of the tension out of those conversations. Okay, so as for some things I did like about this film. Firstly, the acting. While the characters are pretty underdeveloped, I felt like the acting was very strong from all 3 of the main characters. Tom Hanks showed off his versatility as an actor once again in this movie, and he also showed why he plays the everyman better than pretty much anyone else. I still did find myself invested in Sully's character, and I give more of the credit to Tom Hanks' performance rather than the development of Sully as a character over the course of this movie. I also thought Aaron Eckhart and Laura Linney both did a really nice job in their respective role as well. Aaron Eckhart had a nice chemistry with Tom Hanks, and I felt like the two interacted in a way that felt pretty natural for the most part. Aaron Eckhart isn't in this movie a ton, but when he does appear, I thought he did a really nice job overall. Laura Linney did a good job of providing this film with an emotional presence, because although her interactions with Sully primarily take place over the phone, she helps direct him in a way that he needs after all this craziness by keeping him focused and grounded. I also think the other supporting actors in this movie did a nice job too, but honestly, you won't remember any of their characters' names by the end of the film most likely. The movie has some exceptional cinematography. Everything about this film from a visual standpoint is very nice. While the backstory scenes and dream sequences aren't always the greatest from a narrative standpoint, they are pretty nice to look at. I don't think you're going to look at any of the scenes in this film and feel like things don't look as good visually as you hope they would. Everything checks out. The actual water landing scene that eventually does get shown to you in full is very nicely shot, and the execution of it will have you thoroughly impressed because the filmmakers worked very hard to recreate this whole event in a way that feels realistic, and it does feel very real. Now, I know I told you earlier that the story doesn't always feel as dramatic and tension-filled as it should, and that's true, but to be fair, there are plenty of moments where the movie does deliver the level of drama and excitement I was expecting coming in. The story is fairly inconsistent, but the highs are so high that you might just walk out of this film not even remembering most of the lows. The actual water landing was amazing from start to finish, and there's other scenes as well that are very well written and executed. So basically, Sully is like a dysfunctional relationship you have with your significant other. But overall, I was fairly satisfied with with Sully, although it wasn't quite as good as I hoped it would be. I did think it has some really good acting, some amazing cinematography, a decent amount of dramatic and tension-filled interactions, and some exciting, well-executed scenes. Sadly, I also felt the pacing was off and the story progressed unnaturally, the characters were pretty underdeveloped, and the most dramatic elements of this story are never fully explored. I'm going to give this film a 7.5 out of 10, and generally recommend that you see this one in theaters if you're looking for a well-acted and mostly entertaining biographical film. So did you guys see Sully yet? What did you think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if not, let me know whether you'd be interested in watching this film or not. And as always, if you like this video, click that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for much more content like this. That's all for now. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.